why are some people avoiding relationship talk? And I'm not going to spend too much time on it. And there are a lot of people who I think avoid relationship talks for solid and good reasons. But the reasons that I'm going to list here are not those. The reasons that are listed here are reasons that are more so that I've observed from talking to a lot of people who when you approach them, they don't want to have relationship conversations. And these are more or less some of the things that I've been able to suss out from my conversations with them on why they don't want to have those relationship talks. And admittedly, most of these reasons are negative, but again, I want to state that there are positive reasons why people don't engage in relationship talks. I think for some people, they could be protecting their own ideas and thoughts, and they don't want other people's ideas and thoughts that may be negative to influence them. So that's a positive reason, I think, why a person might avoid a relationship talk. But the reasons here are reasons that from I've been kind of talking to people and sussing out, like, because there's a lot of people who get tired of these relationship talks. They don't know why we're doing them. We're going to talk a little bit about why we have the relationship talks in a second, but I just want to point out the reasons why a lot of people are avoiding relationship talks and conversations. Number one, they're not willing to do the work. Doing the work, we had talked about in another Zoom call, some things might call for getting right spiritually, about being realistic. They're not realistic about what's out here. They don't want to have a relationship talk because it might make them be more realistic. They don't want to make an effort. Having a conversation, that's in part is making an effort. They don't want to work on themselves. They don't want to know what's wrong with themselves, and they don't want to get accountable. A lot of times, if we have negative ideas about relationships, having a relationship conversation with somebody who doesn't share our same views may challenge some of the thoughts that we have that may not be entirely positive, and we need to change those things. It's something I say a lot with the guys, and I guess some of the guys that joked me on it. I said we need men and women. We need to try to formulate ideas about relationships that are appealing to the opposite sex. I'm not saying being fake. I'm not saying put up a front, but in some way we need to figure out, and in some way men and women, we act as a check and balance. If you're a guy and you have an opinion that majority of women just find intolerable and insufferable, that could say something about that idea or opinion. Now, and then you say, well, if I change, I'm not being myself. I'm not being my authentic self. Shouldn't that be a problem? Well, what should that tell you if the majority of the opposite sex views your decision on relationship as misogynistic, and it could be for reverse side for women, if you're holding to ideas that the other sex just doesn't find appealing, that could be a problem. So a lot of people avoid relationship talks because they don't want to be confronted with that reality. Meaningful romantic relationships aren't important to them. So they're just not looking for a meaningful relationship. So having a relationship talk and being intentional is not a thing that they would do anyway, because they're just looking for a hookup. So they don't really care to talk about relationships because it's just not a thing. They're tired of trying. They've given up. I've met a lot of people. They just tired of trying. Like it just gets hard. Just going through the rigmarole of trying to find a decent person. And then after trying and not having the results that they want, a lot of folks just give up. So that's a real thing. They believe a lot of people just believe relationships are easy, and you don't have to have a conversation. Some people had a bad breakup and divorce. They've been through a divorce, and when they come to meet up or whatnot, they just want to socialize and have fun. They don't want to talk about relationships. They're not ready to get in the next relationship because the past relationship was so negative that it kind of it soured them to relationships. They don't see the value and importance of relationships. And they don't understand that life is all about relationships, and they don't see the importance of that. No, even if it's not a romantic relationship, life's about relationships, and they just don't really see the value or importance of that. They lack self-awareness. They struggle with relational, emotional intelligence, and soft skills. And this is a common theme that I see with a lot of folks. Like I said, I'm not bashing the I call them RTAs, relationship talk avoiders. I'm not bashing them, but these are things that I've observed through time, and just like why don't you want to have a conversation about relationships? These are some things that I observe, like their emotional intelligence is lacking, soft skills are lacking. Just a real quick slide on emotional intelligence, social skills, like having a conversation and talk is a social skill. Self-awareness, I just talked about that. Self-regulation, the ability to regulate your emotions. A lot of people are really sensitive. They're just really, really sensitive. And a relationship talk is triggering if you say something they don't agree with. I've seen that before. Doing these conversations, I've seen it. Say something somebody doesn't like, there's a heightened emotional state, and then they just exit the whole relationship talks. They lack empathy and decision-making suffers. Just some soft skills, negotiation, conflict resolution. Maintaining a healthy and positive relationship is about being able to manage to handle conflict in an effective way. And a lot of people just don't know how to do that. They don't know how to get along with the opposite sex. Conflict resolution is not a skill that a lot of people have and possess these days. So they don't want to talk about relationships because it's going to, to have a productive and healthy conversation that's moving things forward is going to require some agreement, as we see here, is going some adaptability. It's going to require a lot of things, a lot of soft skills that a lot of us are just lacking, and we're not willing to do the work. So that's something there. Let's see here. And they don't believe that talking about relationships solves anything. They don't believe just talking about relationships solves anything. And on some level, I can understand that. I think that if all you do is just talk about relationships and you don't do any action afterwards, and yeah, that could be a problem. But I think that the goal here is in having these conversations is start talking about them. But if you're learning and you're picking up some stuff, something that can help you out to help you to manage and navigate relationships better in the future, that's the goal here. Then take action on that. So yeah, I do agree with that. Just talking may not do anything. You do need to take some action afterwards. And they just don't know how to get along with the opposite sex. That's just what it boils down to. They just don't know how to get along with the opposite sex.